As we get to the end of September, we all traditionally start thinking about, oh, it's that time to replant, that's time to reseed. And part of that, looking into that, is to figure out what are the conditions. Everybody always asks, well, what time do I reseed? Is it always August 15th to September 15th, or September 15th to October 15th? And my answer is always the good old, it depends. And it certainly depends because of the weather that we certainly have. This is a good example this year. If you look at your long-term forecast, we haven't had rain for the past week, and it looks like we're going to be at least 10 days out before our next rain. So when do we reseed? One thing to really do is really try to evaluate the conditions of your soil to help you determine when can you safely reseed, where you may not get germination, but you also don't lose your seed. And I always go right to the soil. If you look at the soil, we've got a nice bare patch of soil here. Obviously, you could use a little bit of reseeding. And I start to get just take a pocket knife or anything like that, and you can dig down into the soil and see where the actual moisture line is at for this soil. Typically when we reseed, we like to do it at about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch down. So I'm not going to dig much deeper than that. And see what type of moisture you have. You can look here, I'm about 1/2 inch down, and it looks pretty dry. And why does that matter? What matters is if you're going to go ahead and reseed, so if you're just getting really antsy and hey, it's time to get this done, or I don't have any more weekends free, you want to make sure that you don't have a lot of moisture actually in the ground, which is kind of goes backwards to everything we've been thinking about. Because if you put a grass seed in this soil right here and there's no moisture, that seed is most likely going to sit there and not really do anything. What we don't want to see is that seed have just enough moisture in the ground that actually starts to germinate and grow, and then when it starts to pop out, this brand new seedling's popping out of the ground, and then it hits a harsh reality that it is 95 degrees or even 75 degrees, but it's then really, really dry. And so that gives that seedling a really poor opportunity to get started in life. So if you are determined that you're going to plant before we have any moisture in the ground and it starts to cool off, make sure that when you dig down into the soil that you see that you have very little moisture in there. That way your seed will just sit there and hopefully not germinate. Not the best case scenario for seeding, but also if you're based on a time schedule, it'll give you the best opportunity to get some germination, some growth out of that seed. Best case advice, wait till we get a little moisture in the ground, it starts to cool off, and then do your reseeding. Look to this video and other videos for advice on pasture seeding, and don't ever hesitate to call the Williamson County Extension Office.